Acts 27:13-44. Acts 28:1-16. 1-16. Paul was on the island of Malta. Once we were safe on shore, we learned that we were on the island of Malta. The people of the island were very kind to us, and it was cold and rainy. So they built the fire on the shores to welcome us with warm us. As Paul gathered an armful of sticks and was laying them on the fire, a poisonous snake was driven out by the heat, fastened itself into his hand. The people of the island saw it hanging there and said to each other, "A murderer, no doubt. Though he escaped the sea, justice will not permit him to live." But Paul shook off the snake into the fire and was unharmed. The people waited for him to swell and slowly drop dead, but when they had waited all day, a long time, and they saw no harm come to it, they changed their minds and decided he was a god. Near the shores where he landed was an estate belonging to Publius, the chief official of the island. He welcomed us courteously and fed us for 3 days. As it happened, Publius' father was ill with a fever and dysphoria. Paul went in and prayed for him, and laying his hands on him, he healed him. Then all the other sick people in the island came to him and were cured. As a result, they were showered with honors. We were showered with honors, and when the time came to sail, people put on board all sorts of things we would need for a trip. Paul arrived at Rome. It was 3 months later after the shipwreck, and we set sail on another ship that had withered at the island, the Alexandria ship with the twin gods as its figurehead. Our first stop was Syracuse, when we stayed 3 days. From there, we sailed across to the region. A day later, a south wind began blowing, so the following day, we sailed up the coast to Petulia. There, we found some believers who invited us to stay with them for several days. And so we came to Rome. The brothers and sisters in Rome had heard we were coming and came to meet us at the Forum on the Pillowway. Others joined us at the 3 taverns. When Paul saw them, he thanked God and took courage. When we arrived in Rome, Paul was permitted to have his own private lodging, though he was guarded by a soldier. Samuel 4:5. The Philistines captured the ark. At that time, Israel was at war with the Philistines. The Israelite army was camped near Ebenezer, and the Philistines were at Aphek. The Philistines attacked and defeated the army of Israel, killing 4,000. And after the battle was over, the army of Israel retreated to their camp. Their leaders asked, "Why did the Lord allow us to be defeated by the Philistines?" Then they said, "Let's bring the Ark of the Covenant to the Lord at Shiloh. If we carry into battle with us, we will save our enemies." So they sent me to Shiloh to bring back the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord Almighty, who enthroned between the cherubim. Hophni and Phinehas, the sons of Eli, helped carry the Ark of God to where the battle was being fought. When the Israelites saw the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord coming into camp, their shout of joy was made so loud that the ground shook. "What's going on?" the Philistines asked. "What is all the shouting about in the Hebrew camp?" When they were told because it was the Ark of the Lord that arrived, they panicked. "The gods have come into their camp," they cried. "This is a disaster. We have never had a face-to-face anything like this before. Who can save us from these mighty gods of Israel? They are the same gods who destroyed the Egyptians with plagues when Israel was in the wilderness. Fight as you never fought before, Philistines. If you don't, we will become the Hebrew slaves just as they had been ours." So the Philistines fought desperately, and Israel was defeated. The slaughter was great. 30,000 Israelite men died that day. The survivors turned and fled to their tents. The Ark of the Covenant, Ark of God, was captured by Hophni and Phinehas. The 2 sons of Eli were killed. The death of Eli. A man from the tribe of Benjamin ran from the battlefront and arrived at Shion later that day. He had torn his clothes and put dust on his head to show grief. He was waiting beside the road to hear the news of the battle, for his heart trembled for the safety of the ark of the God. The messengers arrived and told what had happened. An outcry resounded throughout the town. What is this noise all about? Eli asked. The messenger rushed over to Eli, who was 98 years old and blind. He said to Eli, I had just come from battle, and I was there this very day. What happened? Eli demanded. Israel has been defeated. The messenger replied, thousands of Israelite troops are dead on the battlefield. Your 2 sons, Hophni and Phinehas, were killed too, and the ark of the God has been captured. When the messenger mentioned what had happened to the ark, Eli fell backwards in his seat beside the gate. He broke his neck and died. He was very old and very fat. He led Israel for 40 years. Eli's daughter-in-law, the wife of Phinehas, was pregnant near the time of delivery. When she heard that the ark of God had been captured and that her husband and father-in-law were dead, her labor pains suddenly began. She died in childbirth, but before she passed away, the midwives tried to encourage her. Don't be afraid, they said. You have a baby boy, but she did not answer or respond in any way. She named the child Ichabod, whereas the glory, murmuring, Israel's glory is gone. She named him because the ark of God had been captured and because her husband and father-in-law were dead. Then she said, the glory has departed from Israel, and the ark of God has been captured. The ark in Philistia. After the Philistines captured the ark of God, they took it from the battleground of Ebenezer to the city of Ashdod. He captured the ark into the temple of the dragon and placed it outside in Dagon's. But when the citizens of Ashdod went to see it the next morning, Dagon had fallen with his presence to the ground in front of the ark. Because of the Lord, they set up the idol again, but the next morning the same thing happened. The idol had fallen face down before the ark of the Lord again. This time the head and the hands had broken off and they were lying in the doorway. Only the trunk of his body was left intact. That is why, to this day, neither the priest of Dagon nor anyone enters the temple of Dagon will step on its threshold. Then the Lord began to afflict the people of Ashdod with the nearby villages with plagues of tumors. When the people realized what was happening, they cried out, we can't keep the ark of God of Israel here any longer. He is against us. We will all be destroyed along with our God Dagon. So they called together the rulers of the 5 Philistine cities and what should we do with the ark of God of Israel? The rulers discussed and replied, move it to the city of Gath. So they moved the ark to Gath. Ark of God of Israel to Gath. But when the ark arrived in Gath, the Lord began afflicting his people, young and old, plagues and tumors, and there was great panic. So they sent the ark of God to the city of Ekron. But when the people of Ekron saw it coming, they cried out, bringing the ark of the God of Israel here to kill us too. So the people summoned the rulers again and begged them, please send the ark of God back to Israel's own community or it will kill us all. For the plague from God has already begun. The great fear was sweeping across the city. Those that didn't die were afflicted with tumors and there was weeping everywhere. Psalms 52. You call yourself a hero, do you? Why boast about the crime of yours and who have disgraced God's people? All day long you plot destruction. Your tongue's cut sharp like a razor, and you're expert at telling lies. You love evil more than good, and lies more than truth. You love to say the things that harm you, a liar. But God will strike you down once and for all. He will pull you from your house. He will drag you from the land of the living. The righteous will see it and will be amazed. They will laugh and say, look at what happens to mighty warriors who don't trust in God. They trust in wealth instead, and they grow more and more when they're bold in wickedness. But I'm like an old olive tree, driving in the same house of God. I trust in God's unfailing love forever and ever. I will praise you forever, O God, for what you have done. I will wait for your mercies in the presence of your people. Amen. Stay blessed.